Hello everybody, I'm back with the second part of the second tutorial, watercolor Gnome house, Christmas decoration. And first of all, I want to thank everyone that have subscribed to my channel so far. I really appreciate it and welcome. I hope you're gonna stick around. And let's get started with painting this one, because I want to get it done before Christmas, else it misses the purpose. So get yourself paintbrushes, about the size, the same as the last time. Detail brush, either way, and a mid-size brush and something in between. I think this will be fine for this piece because it is quite small. I made it in my, transferred it onto my watercolor book. And don't ask me which brand. Well, let me see if I can figure it out, because it is like a piece of don't mind this. This is filled. This is from years ago. This is what does it say here? I cannot see it. This is Sanders Waterford. I see Sanders in mirror. Sanders Waterford watercolor book. So yeah, if you're interested, it's Sanders Waterford watercolor book. And get yourself some water and your paint and a tissue for if you make any mistakes. So when you get your paints ready, I mentioned the colors in the previous video, the drawing video. So yeah, let's get started. We're gonna start with putting the Christmas lights in, because we want to have the yellow first and dry the yellow, because yellow is a submissive color and a red would definitely push it away if you do it wet and wet. So do that first, and I'm gonna use a mid-size detail brush for that. That's this one. If you're interested, DaVinci Nova Synthetics number 4. And if you're gonna use colored light, that's your own choice, but I make it easier for the beginners to use yellow light. You dip in the different colors, the green, red, blue, green, red, blue, green, red, blue, green, red, blue. You dip it in, but we're gonna use yellow for the beginners to make it easier. So I'll wet my brush, and I'm gonna make it wet here where the Christmas light are, and a little bit around it, because we want the glow of light to be extend. So a little bit around it. Make it wet all the way around. But not the snow arch. The snow arch needs to be completely white. Take your lemon yellow. Lemon yellow. And you go over this line. And let the yellow bleed out into the wet area. Go over your lights, if the yellow, because my yellow doesn't really bleed. I might start to turn on my daylight lamp, because I start to see it's getting pretty dark. And because I do have the various colors, I'm gonna show you what a warm orange touch will do if you put it over it. Yes, we're gonna wet the Christmas tree as well. I find the circles that are drawn here a little bit too big, so I kind of decided already that those gonna be Christmas decoration, the Christmas balls that you put in the tree, and that the light gonna be just little dots of yellow. And then take your small detail brush, put it in your lemon yellow. Let's see what happened. Just little dots around. We're gonna paint the mushroom stem, the gnome house stem. Gonna use burnt sienna. I made the paper with. I don't want to have my swatches messed up. It already happened here a couple times. So I'm gonna get myself some burnt sienna. And gonna wet the area first. Then we're gonna go spreading around your burnt sienna, aka burnt umber with a white. And then just go over it for now. Because here, right under the edge, it's gonna be darker. Don't forget to add a little bit of the color here in beyond the door frame and the planter. I want it a little bit darker here at the bottom because the light shines here and around the Christmas decorated trees, but it is too far from any light source, so we're gonna make it a little bit darker here. Some bush texture, and how I do that is just with the tip of my brush go a little bit over the line of the bush dot wise, so you get a little bit scribbled edge of the bush. So here's the darkest, here a little bit lighter than there, and let it blend out into here. At this point I make my brush clean and wet and dip it off on a towel or a tissue to blend this out nicely. And here you be careful with the pine tree, lighter than here but a little bit darker than it already was, but not here because the light diffuses from here to here as well, but here yes. Go around your window frame and around the bush, the door frame. Clean my brush, I wet it, I dip it off on a tissue or towel and blend this out. There. And I want a little bit more gone here, so I, with my wet brush and dip it off the tissue, I dab a little bit off the paint here, but not too far. I want it a little darker around this bush either, but lighter than this one. And this dried up for me. But right here I want to have a little shadow of darker color, so I make it a little bit wet again because I want soft edges. So when you want to have soft edges, you do it better with. With my detail brush, I take a little bit of the color and dark enough to make a line like this. A little darker edge around the window here, but there comes light from here and from here. So we're gonna have a little shadow only here. So take a little bit on your brush, not too much. Rather too little and add more than too much at once. And then tap it around here, around the edge of the window frame. That's it. Clean my brush, make it completely dry on a tissue or a towel. That's only damp, and this I diffuse out and blend it out. There. I think I want a little bit more because I barely see it. So just a little bit darker and go exactly on the pencil line. Same with this one. But then here. Until here and until here. Do the same with the doll. Just beside the edge and nothing more. And a little thin line, really a thin line underneath the roof. That's still wet, but it's okay. We're gonna take our red, and I have been mentioned a good bright red, something like Scarlet Red or Permanent Red Deep from Daniel Smith, or Winsor Red Deep, I think, from Winsor Newton. I think so. And oh, that's the snow. Hold on, I'm doing wrong. It's the snow. Oh no, we're doing the snow. That should not be. That should not be. That should not be. Quickly, quickly. I might need to correct that with gouache later. It happens, but okay, here. Under the snow cap and above the snow line. You can start with a thin layer and thicken it up as you go. Because you want to have it lighter, closer to the light source. And darker up. And go up here and dab it in scribbly line, because the snow is never a straight line. And here we go a little bit lower because this is far away. About this. Clean your brush, wipe it dry so that you have a damp brush, and then soften this edge and blend it out. it needs to gradually thin out, blend out. Like this. And if you worry it's a little bit too dark, you're just gonna get a tissue and dab, 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 dab on the edge. Draw your brush again and then blend it out. And with a very, very light wash of this same color, like how you have it here, this kind of light wash, you're gonna go in this edge over the yellow, so above the line, under the snow line. You're gonna give a very light wash, not over the light, okay? Just around the lights. Scribble for the snow line. And I'm gonna swap to a more detailed brush, because these are fine detail. I'm gonna transfer the paint on my paintbrush into the smaller one. And then I'm gonna work around the circles of light. And a little bit dab here, because there's a very little here. And here the lights are that close to the edge that I only draw a little bit red between the light bulbs. And you go really around the light bulbs, so also between the two light bulbs you're gonna extend. So you make circles again with your paintbrush. Do the same with the little chimney, with this color and this color. It can be darker because it is away from all light sources. The only light sources come from here, but the snow is a little bit blocking the light, so it can be darker here. And more dark under this edge. It bleeds out a little bit too much, so I'm gonna, with the tissue, I'm gonna dab it and retouch it later. With a warm orange, so permanent yellow deep from Daniel Smith, or transparent orange, or Indian yellow from Winsor Newton. With our brush, take that color. I'm gonna take permanent yellow deep. And before these bushes, I give it a diffuse light from the windows in the Christmas light. And a little bit here. Right here, 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 here. With my brush, clean it, dip it off. I'm gonna blend this out to create softer edges. And the door is also giving a light, so I need a little bit more. So I take a little bit and put it right in here. That's a little bit too little. A little more. That's a little bit too much. So I clean my brush, dip it off in a tissue towel. Right under the light sources from the window, it's a little bit darker. It's a little bit darker here, so I need more there. I need more here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. So, and then I'm gonna clean my brush, wipe it, and blend that out nicely. So you only take the edge. You're not gonna go over the whole area, because then you blend out the whole thing. there's a light source here as well. I almost forgot. So there. Let's paint in the light source here. So I'm going to take the same orange and then diffuse it out. Clean my brush, wipe it, blend it out. Don't go above this. Yeah, maybe here a little bit, but not here because the light doesn't go through this. Take your orange again, because this here inside we want to have it a little bit brighter. Keep the middle light. Yeah. And now I'll clean my brush, take my little detail brush and get a little bit of lemon yellow. Just a little bit. And see if it already can take. And dab it in the middle. I want to give the snow lines, I want to give it a paint gray layer. So you're gonna width the area, and this is the horizon line. Here and here. Sorry. Only the snow of the pathway. You cannot see it anymore on my drawing, because I raised it as much as I could because I knew it is snow, so you have to be very thin with your pencil lines. Else you're gonna see them through your snow layers. Okay, then you get your paint gray. And I'm gonna take my Daniel Smith Solar Line 9. I want to show you how nice that color is. And that's very comparison with the paint gray. But it is a granulation, so very thin. And go over your orange, but slightly, because you don't want to re-wet that. I'm noticing that my paper has a sizing damage on the edge. You see how it dries granulating? It's not the paint. Granulation of paint happens here, as you see. It happens sometimes when your paper is out of the package and comes in a moist air. It might dissolve the sizing of the paper. We let this dry. Well, maybe not. Maybe tap in a little bit of shadows. For this, I'm having a reference on my laptop, how the snow details should be. And here there is a shadow line coming from behind. Here. And yes, this is way too dark. Yeah. I'll clean my brush, wipe it clean, dry, and then blend this out. Yes. And what I'm seeing on my reference is that the horizon line is actually here. Because this is the focus point and this is the background behind the house. So draw yourself a thin line here. And because it is snowy, make it a little bit scribble edge, not a straight line. I leave it to there because you don't want to touch here because then this blends in that. But I just want to remember this is the horizon line. And then I take a little bit of my grey and I tap in here. Let me see what happens if I do that. Here I want to have a little shadow lines here and there. Let me see what happens. Not sure if I'm happy about this, but I want to have a snow texture with shadows where the snow creates shadow with each other. This is too dark. This is either. So we're gonna play with the paint. Try to see if I can create that effect. I painted never snow, so it's the first time for me either. So I'll figure it out as I go. I like this, you see? This is what I like. So I'm gonna try to mimic what's happening here. Paint Grey again doesn't have this granulation. That's why I'm using Solar Light Gnome from Daniel Smith, just to demonstrate you what that paint does. And I love it. And it's vegan because it is a stone. It's made from a stone. And I feel safe to paint snow for the first time for beginners tutorial. Because for a tutorial, for beginners tutorial, I'm never gonna do too much in the details because that would be way too difficult for people with beginners level. So I'm gonna let this dry. Okay, we're gonna go for the details from the house and we're gonna paint the window frames in the inlet, as I had mentioned. Be careful with the edge because you want to have a nice circle. You do the same with this window and this window. When you have done the windows, you're gonna do the door frame. Go around the bush, give the bush some texture. Otherwise you cannot give the bush texture anymore. And don't forget to go around this door. Otherwise you lose the shape of your door, the door step. After everything have dried, we're gonna build up the snow shadows. And I'm gonna learn as I go because I never painted snow before. I drew snow but never painted snow. So for me it's a first as well. So I'm gonna get myself a little bit more of the paint grey for you, and for me that will be the Solar Light Gnome, if I was not mistaken. Yeah. Solar Light Gnome. And I'm gonna put a little bit on my padded well here because I don't want it too thick but not too thin either. So I'm gonna scoop a little bit more, about this much. Now I put this beside me because now I want to fastly scoop when needed. As the Mr. Gnome have been scooping, it have built up on the edge a little bit. He was not finished, but there is some sort of pathway. So we need to create some depth. And I think I know how to, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm gonna dab in some wiggly shadow lines on the edge of this snow path and have a white space in between and dab a little bit more. I'm looking also at my reference there, and I'm gonna do that thinner here, thicker there, here thicker. I just dab and scribble a bit with my brush. I'm gonna continue to doing this whole edge and then see from there. Let me see, I'm gonna take the mountain blue, aka cerulean blue that I've been mentioning in a previous video, and I'm gonna dab it around here, around here. And here. I would like to do that more wet and wet, and that is not happening at the moment, so we're gonna re-wet this. I'm gonna soft this edge before it's dry. Yeah, I'm gonna re-wet this because it dries pretty quick for some reason. And then I'm gonna dab this right in. Retouch it where needed. I dabbed a little bit loosely some darker grey here. And lightly cerulean blue. Take my brush, blend this out. Bit more of my grey and dab it in. To make it partly here and there a little bit darker. I want it thicker because the snow is thicker. So I'm gonna keep playing, but I'm gonna dab more than I was doing. take my cerulean blue or mountain blue, a light blue, and dab it back in. Here and there. I think that's looking decently. Do the same on the other side. And we're gonna continue with this blue. Create a few more deeper shadows. And I keep blending them out with soft edges. I almost would want to work wet here, but I didn't wet the paper, so I'm gonna do a little bit here. And I want a light one here. And something here. And here, a little bit gray. Here, a little bit gray. Attached to the blue. And blend this out a bit, soften it a little bit, because we don't want too much sharpness and harshness. Because it is our faint shadows in the snow. Take my blue again and go around here. Soften that line. Take my gray and dab it right in here. a little line here, because now it starts to look that it goes up here. So Mr. have been shoveling and throw everything right there. And I want to make this a little bit more here. And then we need to do one more here. Take your grey. And blend it out. A very light one here. A little bit more thicker. And blend that out. And then I want to have more here. And grey attached. I want a little bit more grey here. And there. Now we're going to do the other side. I think this is fine like this, because this we're going to cover with the branches. And here as well. So yeah, so we're going to do the same here. And I want a diffuse light of orange. And I did that with this color. I'm just gonna use a different brush, because now I want to have more water. Now I noticed that I didn't finish this edge, so I'm gonna do so. I dabbed in concentrated orange underneath the light sources from the window. This is more light, so I'm gonna dab it more lighter here and here and here. And a little bit yellow right at the center. Hold on, I didn't have much in my brush. Dab, dab, and dab, and dab. And I'm gonna make a mixture of my mountain blue, cerulean blue, light blue, and a mixture that with my grey. Take a decent amount because it is for the background, and I want a mixture from the grey and blue, and then give a wash over the entire background, starting from here, from this line. Don't go over the stem of the tree, but you can go over the branches, and there's a light wash, so blend that whole thing out until the horizon line, but don't go over the tree stem. That's the only thing. And you don't need to go over the entire tree, but you can go like I did here, but it might be better to stop. And I think I want a little bit more blue. Snowy winter sky. Don't make straight line here, because snow is never straight and this is a snow roof. I wanted more blue because the contrast is not enough. So I'm gonna take my blue and put it straight on it. Wet. Then we let that dry. We go to our door. The door is made of wood. And I think I mentioned burnt umber in the previous video. A light brown. So you get yourself a burnt umber and give your door a wash. Not too dark, not too light either, until the doormat, because that is the I don't know how to call this in English, but the stone before the entrance. Let that dry. Gonna do the same with this pole. And as we are at it, a little bit, tiny bit of orange, and dab it over here. And if you find it too orange, then you can always dab it softer and paint in our little windows. And then we take a little detail brush. I'm gonna take my lemon yellow and dab it. And then dab a little bit more orange, because now the yellow is dominating. So take a little bit more orange. And I only put it on the bottom. We're gonna take a little bit a light Indian red, very lightly. And we're gonna draw ourselves two lines that go with the arch of the lantern, but like this. And like this, and take the edge of the lantern too, so you cover the pencil line. We're doing a bit the same here, with just a line, because snow is on top of here as well. And we do a little line here. That's our lantern with snow. And we have a here a thingy on top, but we only can do this and the rest is snow. Do this, yeah, this small that I can say do this, but you will not see it. I take a little line on the left and a bottom line, and in the top corner, top right corner, I keep it white. It's a very minimal detail, but details matter. In the red again, the same light as we did those lines, and we're gonna cover the lines of this mid part. Because we don't want to see pencil lines. And one in the middle, very tiny. And we're gonna edge the pole as well. And now we take a little bit of our burnt umber again, and we make it a little bit darker than the door. And then we're gonna draw ourselves lines. It's gonna be a little bit more darker. Wood lines, wood detail lines. And I'm gonna keep a circle here for the doorknob. I keep it clear. So we're gonna make little stripes, and don't worry too much about it, because as a beginner you don't have to worry about too much details. Those will come later when you understand the medium and everything better. We don't make continuous line. We're gonna small lines, and we're gonna stop and put some in between and darken some up. So we're gonna take a little bit more dark, and then these bigger ones get a little bit darker. And then a little bit lighter again, retouching these because they should not disappear. And if I find it too thick, and some of those I find it too thick, I dab it with my tissue. There you go. You do the same with this pole. And keep it light here and darker here. We take another bit of Indian red. We need to draw a line here. We're gonna draw the line one here, and that one goes with a little arch down, not too much, but a little arch down to mimic that this is round, and one up, one arch up. So I'm gonna take my little bit much bigger brush, a lighter color than here. So we go back to our paint gray or Soda Larger 9, but we add water till we see a very thin wash, and then we're gonna play a bit with, not entirely, but we create shadows on white to get the same snowy effect. And I'm gonna blend that out with a wet brush around, and here the same, because I don't want too sharp lines, because snow is soft. Do the same here. I want a little bit more clear horizon line. Let me see, let me think. I think we're gonna do these stones first. I think I have been mentioning Naples Yellow Reddish or Raw Sienna. That's about this color. And we're gonna make them clean from snow because Mr. Gnome has already cleared that. This one is going to be a little bit darker than that one, because this is further away from the house and the light source. Now we're going to go to the branches. I asked for a very dark green. That was either from Dennis Made Jadeite Janine or cobalt green. And ivory black I've been mentioning, because now we're going to mix it. I'm going to take our dark green. I'm going to use Jadeite from Daniel Smith. That's this color. But I want it more darker than it is. So we're going to take my ivory black. And I use Luna black. I prefer to use vegan pigments. I'll mix it toward the green. You get this dark green. You see? That's what you want to have. Now we're going to use these pencil lines to dab beside it. As starters, because I want to make it simple for you. Go a little bit more white on the bottom. So we're gonna just dab, and with these lined edges to mimic pine tree. I kind of want to see what happens if you go wet and wet. And I want to do that here, that it is a little bit out of focus. And you see what happens. Yeah, I think I like this out of focus idea. So I'm gonna dab it off. Gonna wet it. Wider on the bottom, on top smaller. Doing the same here. I'm gonna go back in, dab in a little bit darker. Create a little bit more dimension. I wet it a little bit around this stem because all this is in the distance, so we need to have it unsharp, and then you need to have a darker green than here. So you add more black to your mix and you dab it in your stem. But if it bleeds too far, and it's happening for me, I'm gonna help it a little bit. Maybe it was a little bit too wet in my case. Draw in a tree trunk, but with a soft edge. You're gonna light that up, that mixture. Add in a little bit more green, but a little bit greener than the stem. And we're gonna wet this area. Follow those lines that you have been making in your sketch. put in a little bit more green because I want to cover the drawing line. And there is one here, and this one is closer, so this one is gonna have more detail. So we're gonna take our more green mixture. Gonna draw ourselves those little lines. Those. That one. That one. And then we're gonna take, hold on. Yes. Take our little detail brush. The tiniest one. We're gonna make little stripes, but we go bigger, maybe go down, but not too much. Because this is the tip of a tree that is standing right here, like there. Just little stripes on each of these splitting branches and in between here. Do the same with that one. I want to create a little bit shadow, so I'm gonna take a little bit black, mix it in again, and dab it in here and there, little dots. These gonna be other different vegetation. Do these. Larger here, smaller here, and larger down. I want it a little bit more denser here, so let's put it in. And I think I want a little bit details here, because it is not that far away. So we're gonna take our dark green and draw ourselves a line. Then that should be lighter than this. So a little bit lighter than here. We're gonna draw in some needle shape. And then these we're gonna be sometimes I figure things out as I go. So with our green mixture we're gonna add a little bit of paint gray, or in my case soda light 9. We're gonna just draw, and we're just gonna paint little shapies. It doesn't even have to look like something, because in Fantasyland we can make whatever. I see something here that I don't like. A little speck that wasn't there before. Well, gonna dab in some shadows anyhow then. And now we come to the last details of this illustration, and I'm noticing that I'm not really liking what's happening here. It's like missing some branches, you know. And I'm not liking, I had the idea to have two separated trees here. That one grows like here, and one behind it, and that's why here it starts here shorter and here longer again. But the difference between the two is not enough to keep that idea. So I'm gonna extend a few of these lines to make the shape of longer down, shorter up again. When we have retouched the branches, here we're gonna paint the tree stem with burnt umber, and we're just gonna dab it in, and we go white in the bottom because trees tend to go white when they hit the ground. This is a little bit snow, but then in the shadow of the tree, so we're gonna put a little bit more blue, and we take our grey again and add it at the base of the blue. I was waiting for my wash here to be drying a little bit to retouch the needle shape. I don't want it completely dry because this tree is more in a distance than this one, but I do want to see some needle shape. Now I want to do this pathway, and I don't want to wet it first, but don't go over any painted line. And then we're gonna take our raw sienna. This is the same color that we've been using here. We're gonna take it lightly and just spread it around, attached to the edges of the snow. We give it one wash, and then we add more. We go a little bit darker here, a little bit lighter here, darker here. From here you go a little bit darker towards, you go further away from the house. And then we're gonna take our burnt umber, and then we dab in a little bit here and make horizontal moves, and a bit here, horizontal moves, and here. And a little bit paint grey, aka Soda Light 9, but very light. We're just gonna, not too light, you need to see it. Under the brown, we did the burnt umber, we did under it. That's about it. Not too much detail. I would for myself, but not for beginners level. And now I see that this is in contrast faded too much, so I go back with a light wash of paint grey or Soda Light 9. So I give a few stripes and then blend those stripes out. Meanwhile, while waiting till the pathway is dry, we can use the same red as here for here. It is away from any light source, so you can make it dark as red as upper here. We're gonna do the same shadow like in the snow on the roof of the mushroom. Make it a little bit wet. Take our little smallest detail brush, get our grey, and we dab it here and there on the edge into the yellow. And with our detail brush we blend it out, touching the edge of the snow scribbly line. So we're gonna drag the pigments around from what we dabbed in here. But do remember you have a scribbly snow line. And then we take our sky mountain blue, cerulean blue, and we dab it around this edge. Let it go where we want to go. There, and we do a little bit here and there, just lightly, with the leftover of our brush. And if you need more, you're just gonna take more. Dab in some shadows. And I find it a little bit too dark, so before it dries I'm gonna dab the edge, because I don't want it too dark, because then it would suggest that there would not be a light there, but there is a light there. So whenever you apply too dark, just dab it with the tissue. Do the same in this brush, in this area with our light blue. Dab in a few dots. A tiny little bit with your detail brush, tiny bit little grey right here to separate it from the sky, and here separate it from the trees, but not too dark. Now we're gonna take our mid-size detail brush, and with a darker burnt umber we're gonna line here underneath the snow. We go here around the edge, and I want to blend this out. So with a damp brush I fade this out till it blends in with the rest. And then we go back with, I do think I want my smaller detail brush. These two big size brushes, and retouch in the fine line around the edge. Here thinner, here thicker, because here here would be thicker and here thinner, because this is behind and this is in front. Do the whole line in both sides. You look from this perspective. So here thin, here thicker, thin, thin, thicker, thin, thicker, thin, and this is all thin. Okay? And I have done the path. And then with your smallest detail brush, you're gonna take more of this color, a little bit darker than here, and you're gonna edge the other side. Here you have your shadow, and now you're gonna edge the other side with a slightly darker color than the tile itself. I'm gonna do the spores of this mushroom. And the spores under here. And I would like to have a raw sienna mixed with white or buff titanium. Or a neighbor's yellow reddish. Depending which brand you're using. But for example, neighbor yellow reddish, buff titanium, or raw sienna with a white. Not too much white because you don't want to have it too chalky, just to make it lighter. And you're gonna wet this area. And here as well. And then we take our desired color. I'm gonna try my buff titanium first. Not so much. So I'm gonna take my raw sienna, lightly, and dab it in. Go a little bit around the Christmas light, the bulbs. Don't forget underneath here. And here we can give it one wash. We touch it later, not because there was a hair in it. So we wait till that is dry. We're gonna go to our sap green. Or you take your dark green and you put some white in it, or you, yeah, if you want to have the contrast with here, you want to use a white in it, but not too much white because you don't want to have it chalky. I'm gonna use some sap green. You can use any light green that you have, something like this, or this, or this. I'm gonna use my sap green. You're gonna give your first wash to all these bushes. These. And give bush texture. You're just gonna dab the edges. Don't worry too much about it, just a little bit squiggly edge. Here, you keep a little bit space between the planter and the bush because we're gonna draw a little stem here. And here with this bush, close to the light source, we're gonna give it right side lighter and left side a little bit darker. We're gonna make ourselves a little palette with the sap green, the light green, and we're gonna draw in the stem, but not too dark because the light of the Christmas light is lighting up everything. You have previously put in the yellow dots, go skip those. If there is a yellow dot on your line of the stem, just go over it and continue under it. And then start to paint all these tiny little stripes. While you go wider underneath and skip the light dots. Just want to shape it first. When you have the shape, you're gonna put all kind of stripes And if you have gouache, just go stripe, 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 stripe over your light source. If you don't have gouache, go around your yellow dots. Make it a nice full looking tree. And with your detail brush, you try to add tiny little stripes that's gonna be looking more like dots around the little stripes you have been making to shape the tree. When you've done that, you take a little bit darker green, either by taking a more concentrated green that you just have used, or a darker color green if you have it. I'm gonna use undersea green and dab a few stripes and do a few stripes here and a few stripes there. So that is one, and we do that with the other two as well, and there is one here without Christmas light. And we take the same darker green and we make little dots in the bushes. But remember the light sources. Window, darker down, lighter up. And take a light Indian red again. The same Indian red that we have been using in the glass of the lantern. That was Indian red, but lightly. And those windows have these crosses that holding the glass, so let's paint them. And the same Indian red, but a little bit darker. We're gonna paint here a shadow in the window frame. But I want a contrasting color, so I take a little bit of black, but not too much. Now we're gonna paint the snow shovel. We take a little bit of our grey with our detail brush and we give this snow shovel a metal edge. Right, a little bit too dark, so I dab it a little bit. And then we have the stick of the snow shovel, burnt umber. Let that dry. Take a little bit raw sienna. We paint in the wool mat. We take our ivory black, soda 99, or any other black that you have. Very concentrated for the planter. This edge rounded a little bit because the planter is round. So a little bit round to mimic that, to suggest that. Now we take our red. And with that red we paint in all these little balls in the tree. And now we take our black again with a light wash. We paint in the rest of the snow shovel. You don't want to have it really dark black. So start with a light wash and darken it up till I like it, till it have contrast with the tip of the snow shovel. Now with our paints grey or Solar Light Gnome, we take a very thin amount, and we're gonna draw little footprints. Towards the shoulder. So he been shoveling, he walked there to put the shovel away. So 1 step, 2 step, step, and now 1 step, 2 step. So here you don't see it because he was walking from here to there, close, put it down, and walk. So I found this a funny little detail. Now we're gonna take it a little bit darker of this color. I'm gonna draw in these spores. Here extend 1 line to here. And then make these arch lines towards that line. And continue that, and here they go straight, and then you bend from here, you bend diagonal again. Find this a little bit too dark, so let me see if I can def it. Not anymore. That's alright. The same here. Now we have this stone, and that one I want to do grey, so lightly grey, and block the entire thing in. We will add the shadow later. While that is drying, we can outline the gnome house. This line, here, and the hood around it. With the same color you have been using. So I'll outline your mushroom. But don't go over your tree branches. Dip it in between. Add a little shadow line here. Even give your snow caps on your roof a little light grey line. And when you see that your snow, I had that here was a piece of white behind the snow edge of on the roof, so I filled it in with Solar Light Gnome or Payne's Grey if you have that. And I add a little shadow underneath the tree stem. Gonna make it a little bit more clearer. And a little shadow underneath there. And I make my brush dry. And soften that out. For those who have gouache, we can continue. For those who don't have that, you can keep watching and consider if you want to buy gouache. Because now we're gonna add some details with white and other colors, yellow, to give the lights in the trees and some snow on the branches. It was very difficult to learn for beginner to keep the areas white when you paint in the branches of the pine trees. So I didn't do that because this is a beginner's tutorial. But for those who have gouache, get it? White and a yellow. I have here mine from Schminke. I can take it straight from the tube, because from the tube is always brighter than from dried in a well. And I'm gonna dip some snow over the benches. Here with the planters, I just do a little bit snow like this. It covers the stem. That makes sense to me. A little bit snow build up here. And blend that out. Normally I would paint around, for snow I would paint around the snow areas, but I find it difficult for the beginners to do so. So I let gouache on top of everything. But as I'm not used to do it this way, it doesn't look like how I like it. So I'm gonna use a wet brush and blend these wider areas softly out. Because I don't like the harshness of it. Do the same on the other side. Keep on retouching it until it's not dominating in the frame anymore, because the focus needs to be the house. And with the bright snow here, it was taking the attention. So we're gonna keep playing with it until that is toned down. Dab it with a tissue. Yeah, I think I like this better, the softer. And then we take our little detail brush and we go back to our grey, but darker. And this edge from this stone, gonna make darker. Be careful here, because you need to not follow exactly what you draw. Otherwise you mess up the perspective. And I use a little bit of my burnt umber. For the line right under the doormat. And above the doormat, but on the entire line under the door. And as last, I want to draw the fence here. And I'm gonna use my burnt umber. And then I take my sketch drawing right here to remember how I painted it. Because I don't see the pencil lines anymore. So that's one about here under the window. Go around your little bush. And around your lantern. My brush is too thick. I want a thinner one. One here. Go around your pine tree and your bush. And every fence needs a pole to be attached on that sticks in the ground. So we continue with the same brown. We're gonna do one here. Gonna do one here. And one here. Oh, my hand slipped. I forgot to mention a little detail, because there is snow. You're gonna give those poles a wobbly bottom. So yes, there is a little pile of snow right there. Now we let that dry, so we can add a little bit detail in the fence, but not too much, because it is a kind of a distance, and from a distance like this you don't see much details in the wood, but we're gonna make a little bit of a texture, but we need to wait till it's dry first. And in the meantime, we're gonna get ourselves a little bit of our black and paint in a wire line between the light bulbs of the Christmas light. Because now there is a pencil line, and I don't like pencil lines. And I don't use an ink pen, because ink pen is really black. And watercolor always dries lighter than you apply it. With a little bit contrasting orange, I'm gonna use my Daniel Smith permanent yellow deep with my detail brush. Gonna outline every light bulb, because you don't see really the shapes anymore. Bring them back. I am exaggerating them a bit, so you can see it well on the camera. I do want to see them, but not too much contrast. But for the demonstration purpose, I see more contrast here live on paper than you see on the camera. And I'm gonna take my mop brush, smaller one, and I take a little bit of that same orange and put it here, because the lights are shining here, so I'm gonna put it here. Clean my brush, wipe it a bit dry, and blend this out. And now you take with your detail brush either yellow acrylic or yellow gouache. Gonna paint the lights back that disappeared in the Christmas tree. I might retouch it with acrylic, but let's see what gouache does. We dab it sprinkled around, little dots. Now we go back to our little fence, back to our burnt umber. I'm gonna outline these poles so that they look that they are before the horizontal ones, and make a little bit lining to give a little bit wood structure, but it will faint away, and that's okay, because you don't want to see too much detail. Just a little bit texture, so that the look of the wood is not too smooth. Then we wait till that is dry. And I find it a little bit too empty here. So I'm gonna put a few distant trees here. But we're gonna use a mixture of grey and black. But very lightly, because it is in the distance. And the more further away in the distance, the less color there is. So we're gonna do one here. And we scribble a little bit of the shape. But no details. And we do some one here. And blend this one out, because it needs to disappear behind the tree, not over. And one here behind the chimney. And one here. Blend this out. Because it needs to disappear behind the tree again. Now the fence will be dry. We go back to our burnt umber. We're gonna line these lines, but not over the poles, not over the vertical ones, because the horizontal ones are behind the vertical ones. And again we're gonna add texture by putting in stripes. One more detail with a very concentrated black. Add here a stripe on the snow shovel, because they do have that, right? At least mine does have a stripe here, and a stripe here. And outline your snow shovel. Now we need to add shadows. A little bit shadow here to start with. Gonna use a thin layer of black. And I will use it like this. A little bit the shape of the rough shape of the pine tree. And I do a little bit here. Also shape of the planter. And one here. And a little shadow here. And a tiny bit 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 here. We make a little shadow line here from the shovel. We're using this light source. And then one beside here as well. This light is closer, so we do have a little shadow casting. This light is further, so it will dim the shadow. So yeah. And a little bit shadow here. And then a little bit shadow here. And here. And here. And don't forget to give them the shape of what they are. The shadow from the Christmas tree does have same sort of shape. I want to add a little bit more shadow underneath here. So I take a little bit of my black and put it right under. Not too wide, just a line underneath. You see my hand? I've painted here and painted here, so I have leaned somewhere in my yellow. I think here. And maybe here. So I'm gonna retouch those. There's one more detail, and that's the snow on the fencing. On the fence. So we take our white gouache again. And we just put a little bit on top here, and here, and a line on top. And also underneath. And what I also like to do is a little detail. It's like a slight suggestion of some smoke coming out of the chimney. Just gonna dab some grey in there. It should be in front of this pine tree, so I try to blend it in to not have harsh lines. But yeah, this smoke, so you can see through it, so it doesn't really matter. And blend that out a little bit. Just a suggestion of smoke. Gonna retouch my white on the fencing. And do a little bit upwards because snow can build up a little bit in the corners. But only in the right one, because the snow came from here, from the wind direction from here. So it's built up in these corners. I almost forgot one little thing. Do you remember I said keep here some space open for the doorknob? So we're gonna have to paint the little doorknob. So take your little detail brush and a little bit of your grey. Well, I drew something that has a little circle and a little like a question mark shape, but then laying flat to have a little bit decorated. No, not decorated, but not a boring doorknob. And then we're gonna get ourselves a little mailbox. And in the Netherlands we have mailboxes in our door, and not in a separate box that's standing on the street, but we have it in a door, just like a little opening. Just make yourself how you say the shape in English? A rectangular shape laying flat. But you see what I'm doing here. And with that last little detail, we have come to an end of this painting. And I'm not fully happy with the Christmas tree, so I think I'm gonna cut my painting off, like here and here, to make it look a little bit better. Normally I would paint snow by keeping spaces white, not painting it, but painting around it to keep spaces white, or drawing it. But I thought that this was too difficult for beginners, so I added afterwards with gouache, but I didn't like the effect. But I think if I cut it from here, it looks decent. So I think I'm gonna cut the edges off. Here I had some sizing error, so it was not taking the paint very well. So I'm gonna cut this off anyhow to remove the sizing error. And then cut off this space to make it a little bit looking better. And yeah, that's all. The only thing I will be doing with this piece. I hope you had fun painting this with me and that you like this little illustration idea. And I'm gonna wish you a very, very happy Christmas season and a happy Audience Eve and a happy New Year in advance. I'm not sure if I will be posting before that happens. I might do so, but I'm not sure. It depends on how busy I am. For now I will be working on my own work, on my own piece, and it's gonna be a magical pumpkin. And I hope you stay tuned till I post that one, because I have a unique idea on how to present my own work on YouTube. So stay tuned, and I hope to see you in the next video. That's gonna take a while, but I might post some other stuff in between. But stay tuned for my magical pumpkin. Let me know how you like to paint this little illustration with me, and I hope to see you in my next video. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.